All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we've got a mixed bag on this video. We will cover SYTA, C-Y-T-A. We'll cover TMC, and then I'm gonna put Lucid and Plug probably in the same chapter. So those are the one, two, three, four I want to talk about. All right. So look, SYTA went wild. All right, and the cool thing is, man, we caught it on the Discord. You can see the first alerts came on the 15th. What I'm actually going to talk about, I'm not going to brag about catching it on the Discord because honestly, it's not like this happens regularly. This was a wild stock, and I mean, he said it beautifully right there, right? What I'm going to talk about is the fact that I actually missed these first ones. I was real busy at work, man. It's been hectic for me. I basically caught most of this yesterday. I got in a little bit early yesterday. I made a bigger move right here at the 330 wall that I mentioned, and then I'll let you know what I've got going on today, right? But I think the cool thing with SYTA really is, look, again, I'm going to show it. This thing was called out on the 15th, right? It was down here on the 15th. I for sure missed this. I for sure missed this. I got a little lucky catching it here just because I saw the comments from the days and I saw how it moved. I made a nice move around that 330, which I'll talk about like I said. Man, it went to the fours. I banked some money for sure, and now we're just playing with some free house money, which is a nice place to be, right? So in a nutshell, that's everything I'll tell you. Look, obviously that RSI is crazy, but volume is king. I can't stress that enough. Volume is queen for the ladies watching this. And I mean, when you just keep growing, growing, and growing, and you're looking at a day that was already bigger than these three not that long ago, there's a lot happening on volume, to say the least. So and man, just look at this thing. It's still pushing after hours. My goodness, right? So SYTA is definitely one. Look, I think TMC is another beautiful, fantastic chart. You can see these lines. I mean, we've just been watching this thing go, go, go. It smashed the 390 wall. And at this point, I mean, I think TMC is gonna stand for the money channel. Like there is nothing from here to basically here. All right. I don't want you to think $10 just yet. We'll put some educated lines on here, but man, red, 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 nothing, 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 nothing for years on years on years could make a pretty crazy green, green, green run, right? And again, there's so much going on with this stock, right? There's the mineral stuff, the export bans. The CEO is actually a homie of Trump. I don't know if they call each other homies. I'm sure they say, something a little more classy and dignified than homies, but you get the point, right? So TMC, by no means is it as silly as the last one, but I mean, just look at the resistances this thing has taken out, and we basically went from one something to four something in not that long a time, right? So to me, that's a beautiful, beautiful move right here, and well worth the highlight. And really, still seems like there might be more here. And then look, I don't trade this one that much. I remember the Saudi money like the peak. I remember that being my peak on this, and then I really haven't done much with it. I think the crazy, and look, I obviously like the setup. That is why I have it. You can see it's actually bouncing pretty nicely off a death line I drew. I have no idea how long ago, but there's a good escape of the moving averages, but really, man, Lucid, even though it's basically been on just this crazy downtrend for the longest of times, it still has some crazy volume. And it's still, give or take, living at the average line, which in a lot of ways is a crazy amount of strength. And I know it's kind of weird to talk about strength on a downtrend that's this hard, but hey man, there's some interesting things happening on this Lucid chart. And again, what's really catching my eye is the attempt to break all the moving averages. Plug doesn't look as good. All right, it is definitely not above all the moving averages. That's an easy thing to say, but there's a lovely channel between this 80 something and then a buck something, and then even between here and all the way up here, right? Like that's probably the first real horizontal. So there's some interesting channel movements that can happen here, and I think it's well worth keeping an eye on. And really, same comments as I just said with Lucid, and a lot of the reasons why I'm chaptering the two together. It's crazy to me that this thing has basically been on a downtrend for the last few years, but but this thing can still basically get 100 million shares traded on any given day. Like that, there's a the volume is an important thing. There are really good stocks that'll never get this much volume. You know what I mean? So it's important to know the volume juggernauts. These two are them, you know. And hey, the setups are now at least starting to get my attention. Nothing's immediately jumping out. Maybe Lucid just a little bit more than Plug, but I think both need to do a little bit more, and that's what I'm going to emphasize on this. All right. I think the commonality across all of these continues to be this NASDAQ. Look, I know today didn't look like a fantastic day, right? But I'm still seeing us over all the moving averages. And to me, until I see a little bit more to worry about, all I'm going to do is think good thoughts, right? Like I mentioned yesterday, right? Because I made a video yesterday. Yeah, the RSI was at an 86. I see it starting to come down now. And again, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's a really high RSI. What I'm still liking is this weekly, right? And look, we still got a couple days. Let's see where this thing ends. But I think as long as we can hold 50% of the candle, which is basically where we're at, just a little above it, right? I think as long as we can hold 50%, I'm still more looking forward to next week, right? I think it's well worth saying that Monday is a holiday, so we are going to be in a short week next week. But personally, I like the Monday to be closed instead of the Friday. I don't know why. I just think it's a little, I don't know. It's just my personal thing. I really have no data behind that. But look, I still see NASDAQ overall 5. I still see the S&P overall 5. I see the indices needing to calm down on the daily on both, but I still see a really low and healthy RSI on both, right? So I think I need a bigger signal to start worrying, and you know, that's kind of driving a lot of my thoughts on most of these, all right? So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. You know, I haven't drawn any, but I will draw some horizontal support and resistance lines manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, look, the Discord group is completely free. I often say it's just like this YouTube channel, but you can share screenshots and it's a lot quicker to get replies. Look, I am not pretending this happens all the time. This is definitely a rarity, but the group got it pretty early. You can see the first tickers were on the 15th, and you can actually see this is a stock that's been on the radar before, you know what I mean? So it's not like it was just like a random pop, right? It'd be really easy to brag about how good this is and the Discord, blah, blah, blah. What I really want to emphasize is the fact that I didn't really jump in until yesterday. So life's been really hectic on my side, not a bad hectic by any means, but I've been really busy at work, and I'm telling you, I completely missed this 15th original note. I completely missed this next day 16th, all right? Where I really came into this chart was this third day. All right. And to me, I think one important thing, I remember this, right? It seems like, oh man, this thing just went 75% the day before, right? How is it going to go another whatever on another 76 on the day after, right? It seems so improbable, and you know, and all of a sudden, look, we got another 100 the day after. Like none of this, like, it seems like it shouldn't, and most of the time it doesn't. I'm not trying to pretend it does, but there's a couple interesting things that really happened, and I think the important thing is, and I try to like say it in the group and on these videos, we're here chasing sustainability, right? And man, when the channels are good, when the spacing between the moving averages, when the channels are good, when they're just married with nothing but red, I mean, it's, look, the first real test was down here, right? And I think once this 2 something went, there was nothing but red, and a lot of reason to believe it was going to come to the 100 moving average, all right? On the Discord, again, you hear me talk about 330. That's the first time I caught it, right? The 330, number one, was this barely anything of a horizontal, this only little green candle after all of that, right? And it basically was the 100 moving average. So if you're gonna break the 100, first off, you're gonna break the 100, you're going to the 200, right? That's we live and die by these 5 lines, right? It's a beautiful thing, right? And if you're gonna get over this, and all you've got is this red, 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 hungry to take us up here, yeah, it made sense that this 330 was a very big wall. And if we went over that very big wall, I mean, there you're going from the 100 to the 200, right? This was pretty much textbook. And you know what? Let me take a step back. So I got in basically at the beginning of the day. By end of the day, when I saw these two candles and I went into the Discord and I saw what was going on, right? Like I was like, oh my gosh, I should probably take a little nibble. I still saw this little red, red, red little chunk right here going on, right? So I felt a little comfortable getting in right there, and that was at 2 something, right? A high 2 something, but still. I do another little move right there to add a little more at the 330. At the close of the day, I for sure sold everything I put in. Right? I at least, and look, again, I know I just said, hey, that red, red, red should have taken us to there, and hindsight, this and that, right? I felt really good banking everything that I'd put in, and then the rest, let's just let it ride, right? Because hey, it could have very easily, just because it got over the line doesn't mean it was going to confirm, right? It could have very easily come back down to 312. If that 312 failed, it might have even come as low as like 211, right? Obviously it didn't, in hindsight 2020, right? But at this point it did fill the move, and now we got to start zooming out, right? So you can see basically around here is this next horizontal point, right? You've got a couple of things going on right here. It's basically the bottom of this guy too. No, that's actually the top, but yeah, it's basically this thing right here, right? So once it was basically able to get over 7, and you can actually see 7 was kind of the top of this guy as well right there, it made a lot of sense that it would be coming to the 8 something number, right? I will be honest, I was not sure if it was going to continue on up between that. But again, I'd already banked my money right here, right? So I was a little less risk averse than I normally am because, hey, let's let something ride right here, right? So I haven't even talked about it, but let's also talk about the volume real quick. And it's a little bit of why I let this day ride a little bit more. Look, when you're when you're growing volume that steadily, that's an amazing look. This first day to the second day, that was a big jump, right? We were all the way down here at 2 something. We then pop way too high to 40 something. That's the potential for a pump and dump, right? That's what this did. This pumped and then dumped, right? Then we go from 40 something to 80 something. That's a very healthy 2x. Then we go from 80 something to a buck 20. That's not even a 2x. That's what, 50%? You're basically adding 40 right there, right? A little less than 40. So, yeah, I mean, those are very healthy growths, and clearly they're much nicer than the day before, right? So, I'm really liking the volume growth, and I mentioned in the opening thoughts, there's a day that was just better than all of these, So, there's still maybe the belief that I think we can maybe match this day on the tomorrow candle, right? So, what am I basically looking at this point? So, first off, I don't know if we've broken the 200 moving average, right? Obviously, we see it going up a little bit after hours, but after hours don't count. I wait for regular hours, and I live and die by regular hours as well, right? So, first and foremost, we can fall right back down to that 7 line that I was just talking about. I think drawing that 712 is a pretty good number. If we lose 712, it will very quickly fall to 5, maybe even as low as 4. All right, so be very, very vigilant on that 712 line on the way down. All right. From there, look, I mean, you can basically see it from this line. It's nothing but red, red, red all the way to up here, right? I mean, we can just roughly draw it right there. I think the next point really is basically 12 something. And then I think this candle is at least probably worth calling out. 10, 12. I think those are the next 3 lines. So we have 2 above, which is at 10 and 12. basically 13 really. And I think the one below us is going to be at 712. I think the 712 line will start to get dictated by losing, let's use 8. If you lose 8, it'll be a quick fall to 7. If you lose 7, it'll be a very fast fall to 5 or 4. All right? Otherwise, right now it's kind of looking like it's heading to 1012. You break 1012, you're going to go to 1270. If 1270 breaks, crazy things happen. All right. And really, I don't know if they will. That's definitely not what I'm playing for right now. The one just kind of interesting thing to say is this weekly basically says, look, that 1012, I mean, makes sense. If this 1012 breaks, the next real weekly point is in the 20s. I wouldn't even use this candle, but maybe this candle would say 18, right? So, there's some interesting things happening here. From what I hear, the news is basically a merger. All right. I really don't know much about the merger news. What I know again are the technical things I talked about and the fact that earnings was right here, basically the 15th date, the day that signaled on the Discord to come check it out, right? Like when earnings are liked, generally speaking, it's a beautiful continuation up or an avalanche down. And I mean, the spacing was great right there. Nothing but red, 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 green, green, green. The spacing was good right there. Red, 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 green, 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 right? And again, so forth and so on and so on. And I mean, even this, as you look at, and I think it's going to be really silly to start thinking up here. And I'm not trying to click on numbers because I don't want you to think too high. But yeah, there's a lot of red, red, red to green, green, green that could happen here. So, just I think for now, I think the I would say this, all right. The safest thing to say is this thing is bullish over 770. All right. I think that 712 line has a decent chance at being relatively strong, but I think as long as you don't lose 770, there's more to like than not like. And again, right now, I know that it's over it after hours. I promise you, after hours actually doesn't count. Like we haven't broken the 200 yet, and 712 is very, very possible here. All right. Again, I did not catch it on the first day that this thing was noticed on the Discord. I for sure did not make a penny on the 75% day after. But the technicals were even when this day ended, right? This will be my last thought. The RSI was still only 72. I know 72 is a little bit on the high side, but we're not in the 80s just yet. You know what I mean? So it's there were some technical things. Man, I talked way too long on this one. That wasn't my plan. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. I think I'm gonna end this here and make another video on the next two. Sorry about that.